Assalamu alaikum guys, hope you're doing well. Today we will talk about letters of recommendation. So these are letters petitioning on your behests to accept you into whichever program you're applying to, whether for admission or scholarship. So typically you can use 4 for ADSES or MCAS or other programs. 3 is minimum, but it is best to utilize all 4 and to send them. 2 of them should be science professors, and it's preferred if you can get them from 4-year university programs or professors. So one of them can be from one. So as I said, 2 of them should be science professors, and it's preferred if you get them from 4-year university professors. Now the other one can be, if you decide to use, and as I said, it's best to use 4. And so 2 science, and then one of them can be one per other professor from like another field or whatever, and that can be used to give light to your personality or persona. And then it can be any other teacher, like English teacher, or your major. If you did psychology, it can be psychology professor. Now the last one should be the professional field you shadowed or worked with, or whoever you can get to write on your behalf, but it must be related to your field. For example, if you're going into medicine, then it should be someone who's a doctor. If you're becoming a dentist, then or the dental field, then it should be a dentist. If you're going into pharmacy, then it should be a pharmacist, and so on. While it might be tempting to look at your letter of recommendation, it's best that you waive your rights to do so. Waiving your rights to see your recommendations will ensure that admission committee that the letter is objective and that you had no influence on the writer. So it's best to not look at it, because if you do look at it, it decreases your chances, because they just want to, like I said, it's just red tape, typical policies. But if some professor will let you, look at the letter, but it's best not to do it. You don't want to decrease any of your chances. And as you can tell, that other people play a significant role in your part of your application, so it's pretty crucial for you to have good positive relationships with your superiors as soon as possible. Some colleges do provide a committee letter of recommendation or composite letter recommendation. These may be submitted instead of the individual letters, but to whichever dental schools are allowing it. However, individual letters are more common, and just remember to stick to the specific guidelines by dental schools that you're pursuing when you start doing your references. Now, they ask someone who knows you, so just ask, people who know you. Like, personally, just make sure whoever writes it writes pretty strong. If you ask someone, make sure, if it's a professor, make sure it's someone who's above A grade class, so it matches with whatever they say, so the letter of recommendation is strong. So if they write highly about you, make sure the professor, it's from a professor you got an A with. Otherwise, it just won't match. So if they write highly and you got like a C or a B, it's not gonna. It just won't match, and if anything, they'll give mixed match signals. Now, there's different types of methods in asking a professor. I'll give an example. I'll give you examples. I'll, post it, in either in the description, or I'll post another link in a separate document or something. But I'll read it out. Like, for example, hello, so and so. This is what I asked my doctor, my biochem professor, and I said, hello, so and so. I do not remember if you recall, but I took your class in the fall of 2018, and I was able to do well. I'm sure you have a lot going on, but earlier I spoke to you about a letter recommendation letter. Is there a chance, if that's still a possibility, of me receiving a strong LOR? I'll be applying to dental schools in May, June cycle. Thank you for your time and consideration. Sincerely, Hamad Hampton. Then another example. Hello, doctor. This is from my anatomy professor. I do not know if you recall, I took your class in the fall of 2017 and I was able to do well. I'm sure you have a lot going on, but I spoke to you afterward about a letter of recommendation letter. Is there a chance if it's still possible for me to receive a strong LOR? I'll be applying to dental schools in the May June cycle. Thank you for your time and consideration. Sincerely, Hamad Hampton. Hello, doctor. An anthropology professor. My dental applications open up. I was hoping if you're free and if possible, if I may still get a letter of recommendation. Thank you so much, Hamad Hampton. So you can see they all 3 have a typical theme. You want to make sure whoever you write to, you ask them if they remember you, if we took their class, and then you tell them that you did well, and then and then you want to make sure that they are busy. You want to acknowledge their time is very important, and and just ask them in a very polite manner that if they still can write you one. Normally, if you go to their office hours a lot and you do well, like they'll remember you, but it's still nice to have this small gesture. And I'll share these so you guys get a general brief idea on how to request one. So sometimes they will they ask if you write on their behalf. So um so sometimes some professors that they'll be like, okay, why don't you write on my behalf? Like, sure, I'll write you letter rec, but you write it and I'll just sign off it. So that in that instance, you have to make yourself look like you're a child prodigy. And I'll share examples of what professors wrote in below in the links and what I wrote, so all you guys get an idea. So I'm not quite, and another thing is I'm not quite sure on how to submit through Interfolio, but I'll teach you the original way, which I think is quite simpler. You just need to ask these professors ahead of time. Sometimes a year or two is good, and just keep reminding them so they remember. I used to, harass my teachers all the time and let them know that their hour of doom was approaching. And then I officially ask for it. Make sure it's about 3 months or maybe even 6 months to be saved prior, when you officially ask them for it. And to start this, you go through your application portal, go to evaluators or recommendation sections, then they ask who your evaluator is, then they ask who are your evaluators. That's the program, the evaluation portal. You go and you post their email on that application portal, whether AdSense or AMCAS or whichever. Then they email that link, the email address that you provided to the professor, and all they have to do is submit the essay, their letter of recommendation on the link that is emailed to them, that which you provide their email. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Personally, my first letter of recommendation was from my anatomy professor, in which I got an A. I went to her office hours all the time, and she remembered me, so she thought highly from me, Second letter recommendation was from my biochem teacher. I did the same thing. I got over 100% in the class due to the extra credit. Plus, she was a medical school advisor, so she knew precisely what to say in the letter of recommendation to help me. Third letter recommendation was from the dentist I shadowed. He told me to write mine, so I just wrote it and he submitted it. Last but not least was from my anthropology professor. There was someone else who was supposed to write for me, but he canceled, so you have to be prepared to have backup plans. So make sure you ask extra people to write you just in case. Last minute, I had to ask my anthropology professor, but she was sweet and still wrote me the best one she could, and I edited a bit. One thing I stress is make sure they put their logos and official letterheads so the school or programs or dental schools, they know it's legit. So the University of Maryland Dental School rejected my letter of recommendation from the dentist because he did not put the logo. So I had to resubmit it with the logo, and they still called me for the interview, but that time is time wasted. That they could have been looking at your application. Or you never know, that could be that you could have lost your chance or shot in that school because of that small silly mistake. So you don't want that to happen. Last but not least, don't worry, I will share examples. So if in the event, if someone asks you to write the letter of recommendation on their behalf, and then they'll just sign off, meaning you write for yourself. So you'll have a general idea, so I will put below. Essentially just similar to personal statement, but just keep it confined to a page or two explaining why you believe this person, i.e. you, should be accepted to the program. So I will put all the examples, and from them you can understand and get an idea on how to write them. I forgot to mention, but I will also put an article of all the themes your professor or whoever is you are writing the letter of recommendation should incorporate. Things like workmanship, teamwork, community service, and etc. etc. Thank you guys for tuning in, and like, share, subscribe, and feel free to post any questions. Thank you guys. Assalamu alaikum.